Maybe that one person's me.
It could be you. I could have maybe not sent the link, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to turn this into a podcast anyway afterwards. I just want to see how this goes. All right, Nick, I do have you here on the line to talk Survivor China, your favorite season of Survivor of all time. And like I said to you, Nick, before, this is going to be so informal. We're just going to chat about Survivor China.
Yes, let's do it. My favorite.
Okay, firstly, big question. Why Survivor China? What stands out of 35 seasons of Survivor that Survivor China is the all-time favorite?
Two reasons. One, a skinny little blonde waitress from New York, who is one of my all-time favorite survivors, Courtney. And two, I when I was younger, like I loved like the location stuff, and I loved the fact that it wasn't on an island. I love all the seasons that aren't on islands. I love Tocantins. I love China, Gabon. I love Amazon. These are all just like great. This is great stuff because it's like different and it's fresh.
Yeah.
I like the islands, like, yeah, it's great, but like it's cool to see the way that the different locations make the like kind of fit in with the whole theme. Like, and they really carry it through the artwork and stuff. So that was another huge reason as to why I was like, it stuck in my mind more than others. And then over the years, I've just gone back and rewatched it.
Yeah.
I'd say I've probably seen it like probably about 5 times, which is
that's pretty impressive for a season. Now it is actually 10 years this year for Survivor China, so it's seminal. Like, where would that put us, Nick? That would put us second year uni at that stage.
Yep, I reckon.
Yep.
Yeah, it would have been. And I also loved Todd. Like, I loved Todd, and I think that it was. Yep, I reckon.
Yep. Well, we have someone joining in. That's exciting.
And I also love Todd.
We got feedback. Catherine, can you just put headphones into the thing? Thank you. The magic of the internet, Nick. This is exciting.
Cool. So do you edit this stuff out?
Yeah, I'll edit this stuff out later. That's easy. The power of the edit. Podcast. Anyway, we'll keep chatting. Where were you? So Survivor China.
So I loved Todd because I thought that he was just so interesting. I was a skinny little young guy that wasn't this big powerhouse or force or anything, and I knew that if I went on Survivor, I'd need to use something other than my body, and it was going to be
which is a bit funny because you end up using your body to keep you in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I always thought that I would go and I'd have to play this like Todd-like game. And obviously we all know what happened with me. It's not about me, but I definitely really related to the way that Todd had to kind of, he used his words and the way he was funny and witty, and he was a little bit of a bastard. I thought that was great. And the fact that he won, it was just this big shining light. Like, yes, like Richard Hatch wasn't a one-off. Like, you can actually play this type of game and be rewarded for it.
I agree. I think Todd almost plays one of the most masterful games we see. And yeah, there's moments where you wonder whether he's making the right decision. And we see like Amanda call him out at stages, but like for the whole, I still feel like for the main part, especially pre-merge, when we were talking about this in the podcast, Nick, like everyone goes to Todd and is telling them about the idol or giving him advantages, like telling him about the advantages and everything else. I don't know, he's so unique. And his final tribal council speech, it's up there with the best we've ever seen.
He definitely changed the way that people started doing final tribal council.
Yeah.
And he kind of set the benchmark for going in there just like balls to the wall. Don't worry about what people think, ask, just kind of like, don't suck kneecaps. You just get in there and you say, hey, this is what I did. This is why I did it. And I know that you're going to respect it. And if you don't, then you don't really know what Survivor's all about. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Yeah. I watched his final tribal council the week before I left for Survivor.
It's like the go-to one. You have to check that one out.
I was like, yeah, I'm going to use all this when I get to the end.
Well, did you use it when you asked your questions, Nick? By the way, did you try and use it when you were at the end, when you were asking questions?
Yeah, I definitely thought when we were chatting in Drew Villa, I was definitely like, guys, be prepared that if Christy or if Matt get to the end, that they're going to try, and having seen what works, they're going to try something like that. And you guys need to be prepared that you're not going to get the exact answer that you want, but you might get that from someone like Lee or maybe from Elle. And that was kind of good for them to know. I was excited. I was hoping that someone was going to do that. And that's kind of what really appealed to me about Christy, is because she did kind of do that. And that was, and she was really forceful in her final tribal council. When she was like saying, you know, who else can say this? I can, you know, and, you know, I'm here and Phoebe's not. And I was just like, okay, all right. You're doing the things that I would have wanted to do. You're just adding to the reasons why I have to vote for you. Yeah,
I think that's pretty true. I know Adam and I last year, when we talked about Christie's tribal council, I think even at the time, Adam, I spoke about how I felt like this is Todd Herzog-esque. It was crazy to see someone just own their game so well.
Yeah. Who else has done it since then that could we say has done the final tribal council? So I'd say Todd was the first example, but there's got to have been, obviously recently there's been heaps, but what else? Like, because I feel like that's kind of what Russell tried to do, but he didn't have the goodwill built up in the game.
People just didn't like him as much, I think, Nick, is the difference there. I think, like, Todd, at the end of the day, I think is way more likable and I think that you need to have a shade of likability to get people to vote for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
Chris in Vanuatu?
Is this Catherine? Is this Catherine that's here?
Catherine, can you
speak
for us?
Yeah.
Hey, Catherine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining the convo.
Yeah, it's cool to be here. I just didn't want to interrupt.
No, please, come on in.
Throw your opinion in.
Yeah, well, I think Chris in Vanuatu's, you know, one of the first people to really win it at Tribal and absolutely just take it from there.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's funny you say that because, you know, I've got a very good knowledge of Survivor, but in the week before I left, I was like, okay, I need to research what other people think was the most effective final tribal councils. And it was the ones that came up, whether it was for whatever reason or not, it was Richard Hatch, which I didn't even think was that good, Todd and Chris. Chris was the other one that kind of consistently came up in lists. So, yeah, you're right.
That's interesting. I have not watched Vanuatu since, I think maybe since it aired. I think I've maybe watched half the season on a rewatch, but far out. I have to go back and watch Vanuatu.
Sorry, Adam. Vanuatu was the last season that I rewatched as a fan before I found out that Australian Survivor was coming and then started the audition process. So as a fan, just without thinking Survivor was ever coming to Australia, Vanuatu was the most fresh in my mind.
I mean, just on Vanuatu, I watched it as it was airing. So, I mean, I haven't seen it in, you know, a decade plus, but I feel that at the time, my gut reaction was a lot of people were voting against Twyla and not for Chris. And I note that Chris did a really good job to get those votes for him, but I felt like more of it was people felt very betrayed by Twyla. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, you've seen it the most recently. But
no, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I think that he had a good story to sell, just like Christy had a story to sell of being, you know, the one guy with all the girls, and Christy survived all the tribal councils and stuff. And that didn't help. Like, that didn't help Twyla's cause. So.
No,
definitely.
Go, bro.
No, I agree. So like there isn't really a structure to this, but I thought we'd just go through like the players that were eliminated in the post-merge as well, so we can talk about them. Some of them will be very quick. Some of them will be a little bit quicker.
Wait, we're not talking about Leslie Neese for an hour? Is that not?
You missed that podcast, Adam. That was back in the last podcast.
Did we even mention Leslie?
I don't think we did.
Leslie is lovely. No, Leslie is. So there's this inside info. There's a Facebook group it's called Survivor Family, and it's all previous contestants, like not Australia. I'm talking about the American one. Yeah. And Kobe added me and a couple of the other Australian survivors. And you know, people don't post it that regularly, but Leslie is someone who does every once in a while. And I'm just like, you're just a real neat lady, Leslie. You're just a real neat lady.
I love that. That's so good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, someone who maybe doesn't post too much is Jamie. Have you seen anything from Jamie lately, Nick?
Okay, so I love Jamie.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like, I love so many people on Survivor China, and like, she would be in my like top 5. Like,
top 5?
I swear to you.
God.
And like,
listening.
And I didn't know that she was this big joke until I started listening to like the Evolution of Strategy. They're all like, Dugan goes down. I'm like, what even does that even mean? Like, why is everyone paying out Jamie? I thought she was just this like super weird, like weirdo, but like funny. I don't know. I loved her. I thought she was great.
Yeah, I liked her too. Like, I thought she had a bit of sass to her. Like, she doesn't take a lot of shit from people. Like, I agree with you, Nick. Like, yeah.
Go. Who's everyone's top 5? Go. Give us your top 5.
What, for this season or all time?
From China.
From China. There's so many good.
Jamie,
Todd.
Guys. Okay, Todd, Courtney. Like, surely we all like Todd and Courtney.
Yeah.
Todd, Courtney.
I've really grown to like Frosty. I really like Frosty this season on a rewatch. Frosty is really good.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think. I don't know. I just have grown to like Frosty this season. I know Catherine and I talked about this in the last podcast, but Frosty has grown on me.
He's good. Yeah. But like, I'm after like, in terms of like after Todd and Courtney, the only other person I liked PG. I was rooting for her. Yeah. But the 4th person I was rooting for was Jamie. And then there was a huge gulf between everyone else. And I loved, like, I think that Denise and James and Jean Robert and Sheree, they're all great characters, but I wasn't rooting for any of them. Like,
I don't know, 19-year-old Ryan had a pretty big crush on Amanda, so I was rooting for.
Oh, Amanda's the worst.
I was 19. What do you say?
I
was also 19.
Yes, but some of us develop a little bit later.
I was crushing hard on Courtney, a snarky little bitch. Like, I just thought she was so funny. Yeah. Amanda is just like, I don't know. She's a good Survivor player. I think she's a good Survivor player. But yeah, three times in 5 seasons was it's enough to kind of wear you down.
It was a lot. Yeah, but again, this was the first time we'd seen her as well. She was still. I still think this incarnation of Amanda is potentially the best version we see of her. I feel like this is probably her best chance to win, and she just I don't know. Yeah. She can't pull it out at the end.
I liked Amanda too. Amanda 2.0.
Yeah, I agree. I liked Amanda 2.0. Well, do you think Amanda could ever win at a final tribal? Like, is there just something intrinsically in her that people just don't want to vote for her? Like, she's too pageant-like? That's a comment I've heard throughout the years on Amanda.
I feel like she could be good like when she's much older. Like, she comes back and she's got kids and she's the mum, and like, I don't know. I just feel like she might be better then, but we're never seeing it. It's never happened. Yeah.
She becomes the Chrissy of that season. I don't think
she becomes the Chrissy, and then everyone still hates her.
Yeah, no. For my money, we're never seeing her again, and I'm okay with that. And I think she's probably okay with that as well.
I think she's pretty happy with that. Like, we're talking about Jamie a little bit. Is she still with Eric? Do they end up?
Yeah, they're married with kids, Ryan.
Hey, Adam, fill us in.
That's basically the hot take. Instagram, that's the hot take, is that they've got. I think they're married. They've got kids, and they're very much in love. Like, if we talk endurings of other couples, Jamie and Eric, not mentioned in the same breath as Rob and Amber, obviously, but sort of like, it's very hard to like name couples that have met on the show and are still together. Like, I think, her and Rob and Amber. So, yes, Keith and Whitney. But the thing about Keith and Whitney was Whitney already had a husband on the show, which we forget. But so those three.
Did I hear correctly on a podcast the other week that like Kim Powers is married to someone from another season or something like that? Kim Powers from Africa?
Yeah.
Who's she married to?
Everyone just goes, Adam, how come you don't know this goss?
I don't know this guy. Nick, I said to Shane Powers. I joked to Shane Powers.
No, Kim Powers is.
Let's check the Survivor Wiki. It tells all.
Yeah, the Survivor Wiki will know, Adam.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, you look it up. You look it up. You do the search. G'day.
Austin.
Hello.
Hey, mate.
Hey.
Welcome to the convo.
awesome to be here.
Woo! What'd you find, Adam?
I did find, you are correct. She married a fellow Survivor alumnus, Alex Bell, from Survivor the Amazon in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And they adopted a girl named Bella. They both attended Survivor's 10-year anniversary party on January 9, 2010.
Bella Bell. Nice.
Bella Bell?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is when you need the RHAP bell to like.
Ding, ding, ding. It's like if Ryan adopted one Brinky. Like a daughter named Brinky. I don't know.
Austin, who do you think we're talking about if we're talking about someone on the season who everyone pays out, but I actually think is kind of I was rooting for them to win? Someone who gets like universally panned for being annoying.
Oh, good Lord. That's really tough.
This is what happens when you're 5 minutes late.
Oh, I know. Oh, put on the spot. Look, I'm just going to go
female.
And she's post-merge.
Oh, okay.
Narrowing it down.
Oh, good Lord. Why am I blanking? I know all these people. I've just been watching the show.
Well,
good Lord.
Well, I'll give you a hint. Should I do the Courtney? Should I do the Courtney impression of her?
Yes.
What, Jamie?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, I love Jamie.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. I'm all in on Jamie.
Me too.
Someone who wasn't really well liked was the next person out in John Robert. Nick, I got to ask you, because you're such a big Courtney fan, does that mean you're not a John Robert fan?
Yes, but I loved them being in the game together. Like, if we could have actually like shackled them together so they had to be within like a foot of each other the whole game, that would have been even better.
They would have had to do that on Big Brother. If they were both on Big Brother, that would have been a punishment that they would have given them.
Hasn't that been a punishment on Big Brother, Adam, at some stage?
Yes, it has. They love to do that. They love to pick two people that hate each other and force them to be caged to each other.
That's great. As a reality TV contestant, I would have hated having to do that, but like I love watching it. Funny story. My sister was in. This is like the year or so, a couple of years after the show had aired, and she was in Vegas, and she met John Robert. He was in a booth with all these girls, and he was throwing money.
Of course he was.
Of course he was.
I know, right? I know. He was in a booth with all these girls, and like my sister like ran over, and he's like, "Hey, baby, do you want to join the booth?" She's like, No. I need a photo for my brother. Like, he thought that he was going to. She's like, No, I just need a photo for my brother. Thanks. And then she walked off.
I mean, I must say, if we're talking successful poker players outside of the show, I think John Rivera is probably the biggest poker name that they've had. Like, he actually plays poker, unlike Anna Kate from Co-Wrong.
Is this where we rank the poker players?
Well, I mean, if we're ranking them, I think John Robert, like, as much as we like to hate on him in Survivor, like, he's probably the most wealthy poker player around.
I'm pretty sure he won a tournament semi recently. I'm sure I saw something come up. Like, it might have been on RHAP where someone posted a link about him winning like a decent amount of money as well.
He just seems like such a douche nozzle. Like, and I like when we did. Do you know when the Survivor 500, when that was happening on Twitter, and survivors were saying their favorite moment? Mine was, and I put it on, I tagged Courtney in it, and it was when Courtney was saying that that Jean Robert was, when he was saying he's a bad boy of poker. Like, do you have like a Harley? Do you have like a Harley we don't know about? What are you, Luke Perry? And I tweeted that out, and then when she was on the Penn fan forum with Andrea, people asked me to send in a question for Andrea, and when I said it, she's like, "Oh, it's Nick from Australian Survivor." And Courtney's like, "I know him. he hates John Robert too." That's a funny little story for you, I think.
Yeah. When are you meeting Courtney? When is that happening, Nick? Next time you go to New York, you're going to try and meet Courtney?
She's messaged me and she said that when I come to New York, she's going to show me around. So I'm very, very excited. I'll keep you all posted on that if I ever go. Yeah.
Catherine, I got to ask you like a specific question about Survivor China and John Robert. At this vote, it looked like it could have been James or John Robert at this point. Do you think they made the right decision in keeping in keeping James and taking out John Robert at this point?
I mean, it all worked out for Todd in that they were able to get James out, but yeah, they really should have gotten James. With the 2 idols, they should have blindsided him before he had any sense that it was going to come.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. The next person to go out is Frosty. And this is someone who Austin and I have spoken about throughout this rewatch as someone who I liked the first time. He was the youngest survivor to ever play at this point of the game in 15 seasons. And I don't know, I'm for a Frosty return. I feel like we missed the boat and he will never return, but I think we missed out on a person who is a pretty interesting character overall. Adam, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I mean, I always remembered him as someone who, you know, I mean, that younger character is always like pretty immature, and I still remember like Frosty. I think it's very similar to like Will versus in Millennials versus Gen X. Like people just looked at him and were like, "Oh, we're not going to listen." I do think that he's top of the game for sure, and I reckon a Frosty 2.0 could be really interesting to watch. But I agree with you that the ship has sailed on that one.
He had a showmance as well, which I'd kind of forgotten about, Austin.
I'd completely forgotten about the whole little flirtation with Courtney and Frosty. Like, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's, like, super adorable for, like, 2 episodes, and then he gets voted out. It's really bizarre, like, as this random little subplot in there. But, yeah, I sort of fell in love with Frosty all over again throughout the course of this season.
It definitely earned her the extra vote again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. The next one's a big one because this is the time they decide to blindside James. He has 2 idols in his pocket. Nick, he has 2 idols in his pocket.
Wow. Yeah, it's. Can you just refresh, because I've got a pretty good knowledge of the season, but can you just refresh me why he had to give James the first idol? Was it because if you get voted out tonight, if you lose, you would be able to use this? Is that what it was?
Because they wanted to throw the challenge, but Denise couldn't need the loot.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Right. I just wanted to double check. Yeah, I can't believe that he ends up with both of them. And I was surprised that that he never gave one back as a gesture of goodwill. And I wonder, had he given one back, if he would have been able to last long enough to the point where he actually would think to start playing his idol. Like, I think by holding on to both, he didn't kind of foster enough goodwill there.
Yeah. Todd actually brings that up in one of the confessionals. He's like, "Yeah, I'm pissed that James didn't at least give me one back. Yeah. Why does he still have 2?"
Yeah, for sure. You don't need to. You really don't need to. It's like, and this is, Survivor was still in season 15, but. People knowing, everyone in your alliance knowing that you've got any sort of advantage on any level is just like so bad for you, let alone everyone knowing you've got 2 and you did nothing really to get them. That's insanity. I love the fact that he got voted out with those. I thought that was great.
It's so poetic.
Yeah. On James, do you guys think that if he gets to the end, though, that he gets the votes? Like, was he that winner contender at that point in the game?
I think there's a very good chance. He seemed very likable, and I think it would ultimately depend on who he was up against. I think he probably rubbed a few people the wrong way, and I think there's a good chance that he would continue to rub people the wrong way down the end stretch. But look, I think there's a good chance that he would have certainly pulled a few votes, and would have been a contender right at the end, particularly if he had been able to play the idols effectively.
Who knew that he was going home that night? Because Eric looked like he was smiling, but he had immunity that night. Was everyone in on that vote, or except Denise?
So everyone voted for James except for obviously James and PG, who threw a vote at Todd.
Did Eric throw a vote at Todd as well?
No, Eric voted for James, which is kind of bizarre because PG talks about throwing her vote at Todd as kind of like a fail-safe in case James plays his idol. Yeah. But of course, then it would have been 1-1 between Todd and PG, and they would have all just voted PG out on the revote. Yeah. So I'm guessing that she maybe planned to vote with Eric and there would have been 2 votes on Todd, but then Eric threw his vote on James. I'm not really sure. I'm a bit fuzzy on that.
Yeah.
But that's my best guess.
Yeah, right. It seems odd that that they wouldn't have had a real solid backup to save as a second vote, like splitting the vote. Like, because if they all, I feel like nowadays what would have happened if this was nowadays, it would have said, okay, PG, Eric, you guys vote for Todd, and if you guys all vote for James, we're all voting for James, and then Todd and Amanda say we're just also going to chuck 1 on PG, 2 on PG just in case. I feel like there was room for error there.
Yeah, for sure.
In a tribal council where there's 2 idols floating around, like they didn't really have a backup plan.
I think it certainly speaks to the middle school nature of the season. Like, this is what the second season where they've had this iteration of the idol, because in Cook Islands, of course, it's still the God idol. So the idol as we know it now first showed up in Fiji and now China. So it's still a very new concept of how to really use it effectively. So it's kind of interesting going back now and thinking, oh, of course, you should split the vote, be safe. But it's so early that it hasn't really become common parlance.
Didn't Cowboy talk about the voodoo strategy of basically splitting the vote?
That is true.
So wait, Cowboy is the original engineer of the vote split?
Yeah. Game changer. Yes. Game changer.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like that's so I love that. And he should get more credit.
He should. Justice for Cowboy.
Yeah. I think it's crazy that the show got that moment of someone with 2 idols getting voted out. Like,
it's insane.
It's insanity. Like,
I don't think we'll ever get it again, though. I think the game moves so much more rapidly now, and people are so much more skittish because they don't want to be a James Clement. That I just can't see someone ever getting voted out with 2 idols ever again.
It's hard to even get 2 idols. That's the thing. Did Ty have 2 idols at one point?
Yeah, Ty had 2 last season. Yeah.
Did Jeremy?
And that's because he found him in the same spots, similar to James this season. I almost feel like that's something that we can't do anymore. Oh, we got AK on the podcast. Hey, AK.
Hey guys.
Hey man.
Hang on, I'm just plugging in my headphones. I had to get the app and everything else. This is how committed I am to a season I saw once back in 1993. How you going, guys? All right?
Yeah.
Great.
What's the cricket score, AK? That's the big thing.
It is 2 for 91, and that's a nice Survivor banner behind you, mate.
Thank you. I may have found it from someone who may have stolen it. I'm not sure who.
It's nice.
Sorry, continue.
No, that's fine. We're up to Eric. Is there anything anyone wants to add on Eric?
Yes.
Okay, Nick, you're shouting. I want to add.
That was
Eric.
very passionate.
Yes.
What do you mean? We're not glossing over the great Eric Huffman.
Yeah, I liked Eric a lot watching it.
I did too, yeah.
Well, maybe I'm in the minority here. Go, Nick. You want to talk about him? Yeah.
No, I've got nothing to say. No. I liked his goat impression. I thought
that was beautiful.
Cool. I like the fact that he was a virgin. I thought that was interesting.
There's a lot of similarities between this season and the current season as well. Like, it's a strategy that's been tested. Jessica came in this season as well, saying, "I'm the virgin." What kind of virtues does that tell you as a player, Nick? If someone comes up to you and says, "I'm a virgin," does that make them trust you more?
Well, first of all, I don't believe them. But second of all, if they say that, I'm like thinking, wow, this person's got restraint. And that is what you want.
A lot of restraint.
That's what you want on Survivor. Someone who's got restraint, who doesn't have a trigger finger, who's not going to go like running around doing things not going to do something impulsively. I would love that.
AK, why do you have a microphone?
I just wanted to fit in.
I need this to speak.
That's funny.
Very good. Austin, you said something about Eric as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really remember much about Eric at all beyond the fact that, obviously he and Jamie ended up with a relationship post-show. But I kind of enjoyed Eric as this kind of very minor, kind of vanilla guy. Like, he just seemed like a nice guy and, didn't really have much of an impact on this show, but seemed nice enough and didn't hate him. So that's a plus.
Yeah. I feel like having players like Eric allows the other big players to play their game as well. Like I feel like you have to have one or two filler that kind of just are going to be soldiers. If everyone's a general, like it gets so messy. And I feel like that's where a lot of the criticism of game changers comes in, where like everyone is just everyone's operating at 10, but like you can't all operate at 10 all the time. Like you have to have a couple of people which will allow there to be some sort of alliances that just seem like they're going to stick. I don't know if that's anyone else's. What does everyone else think?
Yeah, you need some cannon fodder.
Yes.
Yeah, but Game Changers had too much fodder, and then the fodder survived. So I think that you're right, Nick. It's probably like one or two, but then if you get too much of an imbalance in a returning season, you get what happened in Game Changers.
Yeah.
Are you calling Tarzan fodder? Is that what you're saying? Oh, sorry, Tarzan. Troyzan. God, I can't remember his name anymore. It's been like a whole months. Jesus.
Well, it's debatable he was even on the show, so
yeah.
Don't get me started.
Just like the other Tarzan.
No, don't go there. This is a Mark Hellier free zone.
You're right. Fair enough. I was going to say that I just think that there's too much. Yeah, you're right that like Troyzan rather was fodder, and there was too much fodder that just they kind of got together and was like, we've got to take out all these big threats one by one, and that's why Game Changers is not well regarded.
Let's talk about someone who I think some people will like is PG. What do you think about PG? Adam, you got your thumbs up?
Yeah, just on her. Like, I really loved her. She was my favorite. I wanted her to win this season. I wanted her to go all the way. And then just like her returning shot was just not as good. So I just think maybe her strategy that she had in China was pretty good and she had the tools put in place. But I think the fact that she was maybe on the wrong end of the numbers, it was just a bad luck situation for her.
Anyone else want to talk about PG Dog, Catherine?
I do like PG, but I have to say it was pretty clear she made it difficult for people to come and work with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was on the wrong end of numbers, but she didn't help herself.
No, that's right.
Yeah, she was very aggressive, and just the episode I watched recently where she was really mad for that ball with the drum. Going off her head.
I love that challenge.
It's a great challenge. But she was going off her head about, them not hustling back, or don't you say I didn't hustle back, and and so it would make it very difficult for people to go, yeah, I want to work with you. So she didn't help herself.
No, I see a lot of myself in PG because I feel like I couldn't help myself from not saying what I was thinking. And you watch Survivor and you're like, oh, you idiot. Like, just stop talking. Like, it's, just, and when you're at work, you can do it. But when you're on Survivor, it's so hard. And like everything everyone does irritates you. And you just can't hold your tongue. And like, if you can hold your tongue, then you've got this kind of like superhuman ability. Like, you can hold it for a chunk of time, but by the end of the game, day 30, I reckon day 34 onwards, I was just ready to rip someone's throat out with my bare hands. And I see that with PG, that she knows she shouldn't be doing it because she's trying to get these people to work with her, but she just can't. She has to needle James because James has been needling her, and that he was doing it more than they showed because he was the hero.
Yeah,
that. Like it's just clear.
AK, you're a bit of a needler.
No comment.
This is not how podcasts go. Come on.
No. Yeah. All good. Keep going.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, good. No, you're fine. Like one of my favorite like characters. Like rewatching, I've been a little disappointed that we haven't seen as much as I remembered in Denise, but I still love the thought and the type of having a Denise out there because I like that she's just a regular person, really picked out of nowhere to play Survivor. And we kind of seen it like this season with Lauren. We don't know how that's going to go, but I like when Survivor genuinely casts a unique average person, and that's what Denise is. Austin, I see you shaking your head.
Oh no, I'm nodding. I'm
and
nodding
no, positive.
Enthusiastically. Yeah.
I agree. I want those chicken nuggets.
Ryan, you're like the modern day Jonathan LaPaglia, lad. I see you shaking your head there.
I'm sorry. I'm just waiting for someone to tell me what to say, and then I'll say it. Wait.
Yeah.
And go.
Ask Nick about his conversation with Jo on the beach. Sorry, Nick.
We'll leave that one alone.
Sorry, Austin, keep going.
But yeah, I completely agree. I really enjoyed what we did get from Denise, but I remember when I first watched it, however many years ago, 10 years now, I was really pulling for Denise going into the finale for some reason. But I certainly remembered her very fondly, and it's been really fun to kind of go back and see just what kind of story she gets. It's so focused on the experience. And I completely forgot about that whole sequence where they go to the Shaolin Temple and she kind of like busts out the karate moves.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so out of nowhere, but it's such a great character moment that really rounds out how she's just this normal person who's gotten this crazy experience to go to China of all places and live the dream.
Catherine, do you want to keep going on to that?
Oh, that was a great reward. I wish that reward is just fantastic. Just going to the temple and seeing an actual monastery, like not a fake one for the TV show, a real one. And yeah, watching Denise interacting with the kids and then doing her karate moves, I loved her. Like that was really great in that moment. But yeah, she's an ordinary person, with her very baggy, daggy t-shirt that doesn't fit, that's how I would be out there with these clothes that just doesn't fit next to these like pageant and skinny models. Like she's made to look very ordinary, very, very ordinary. Like poor Denise with a mullet. But
what about when Courtney says, like, I think we're missing a member of the US hockey team?
That's very disparaging to the US hockey team.
The best Denise line is when she's like the first thing she says to her husband is, "Can I have your socks?" I just love that. Like, I love that so much.
So Ryan,
okay. Yeah, go Adam.
Just on this, is this where we talk about Denise's indiscretions with the whole janitor reunion?
Well, yeah, let's talk about it. Adam, you'll bring it up. So talk about the reunion show and the issue. Was she fired post Survivor?
Well, I mean, that's what she had said on the reunion. So she had said that allegedly, she said that she was fired from her janitorial role. And I mean, this is something that's like stayed with me as we talk about China throughout the ages. Like, I feel like in terms of reunion moments, this and the ensuing controversy is one that really like stays with a lot of long-term fans of the show. But what had actually happened was apparently that she from being a janitor because, fired from being a lunch lady.
Lunch lady, yep.
Lunch lady because she was too distracting for the kids because she'd been on the show. When the school district had come out and said that, well, no, she had just been transferred over because this was just something that was going to happen anyway. So she got all this money from Mark Burnett. She had to give it all to charity. I forget which charity she donated it to, but
Mullets for America or something like that.
Mullets for America, yes. That's probably it. But I just remember watching it at the time, like, not knowing the ensuing backstory and what was going to happen. Like, do you guys remember your sort of initial reactions to it if you watched it live?
I don't remember the controversy because that wasn't part of the reunions, and I didn't really know much about that until like well and truly after. I only knew that like she got fired, and I remember sitting there going like, "Oh no, that sucks so bad. Someone help her!" And I was touched by the moment where they gave her the money and all this stuff. But the only thing that kept ringing in my head when I was saying that she got fired was when Courtney said that she this isn't welfare. Like she doesn't deserve to win. It's just because she sucks at life. And I was like, You can't say that.
That's why I love her.
Yeah.
Well, all right. We're in the final three. We'll skip Amanda for now. We'll come back. But you raised Courtney, Nick. She's your favourite. You even like on the show, you did like a kind of a homage. Was that deliberate on the show? I didn't even ask you. What do you say? Yay burgers? No. What do you say? So do you tell me? You know.
Boo rice.
Boo
yay
rice.
Burgers.
Yeah.
That just kind of came out. Like there was. And knowingly that, you know, not that I didn't pretend to make it up. Like that's just, I always just like say like weird little Survivor things in my everyday life. And like boo and yay is something I've always used. Like I used to use it in the classroom. Like I remember I walked into the class one day when we were supposed to do a test and I decided to like, you know, delay it. And we did it like a fun, you know, we watched a movie instead. And I was like, boo test, yay movie. Like, so I've always kind of just said stuff like that. And I'm so glad it made the show. That was cool.
I think we all do that though. I think as Survivor fans, and you've got a wife, Nick, I've got a wife, how many times we're referring to like Survivor quotes and they have no idea what we're talking about. And it's just, I think Austin, you're nodding in agreement.
Nodding very enthusiastically.
This is something that happens a lot. Catherine, something that happens in your life as well.
Yeah, like I find myself saying creepy, like Christy did in Amazon. or again, Courtney doing the troll.
Yeah. Do you know what my cousins and I always, speaking of Christy from Amazon, whenever we go to a restaurant, we're like, is there garlic bread? There's no garlic bread. Like it's like the dumbest line that has no bearing on anything, but we've just stuck with it for like 10 years.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't got anyone quite like Courtney since Courtney. I know she's unique, but she's so sassy through the whole season. And I feel like she's a character type. I would love to see if they could try and replicate it, but I just feel like they haven't been able to do that, Adam. I see you nodding in agreement as well.
Well, yeah, I do actually agree with you now that I think about it. Like, I can't think of a female that's that sort of acerbic and that, like, you know, outwardly doesn't give a fuck. Like,
I know they got,
and I think that's what I love about her.
Afterwards.
And I love Corinne.
And maybe that was based on having Courtney and they wanted that same personality type on the show, but like, I feel like Corinne and Courtney, there's like a slight difference between the type of...
What about Jen Brown from Worlds Apart? Just thought of her. How about her?
Yeah. I seem to remember there being some Courtney comparisons at the beginning of Worlds Apart.
Yeah, Natalie Anderson's a good one.
That's a good one. I
think people like... Sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say on Jen Brown, I do think like when people were starting that season and looking at that season, people were like, oh, is this the second coming of Courtney? People were really excited for her. Then she got on and she was just, I don't know, there was just something in translation that was just really like, she was just really like, I think the difference is Courtney seemed genuinely happy to be there, whereas Jen did not.
And Jen seemed like an annoying Californian, whereas like, Courtney was like this, like, you know, snarky New Yorker that just kind of...
We heard that she was a New Yorker constantly. Like, everyone else doesn't know where they're from. But
it's so funny. Like, it's so funny because, like, I know Courtney didn't apply. Like, I don't know if you know the backstory, but the people from CBS went into her restaurant where she was a waitress at, and they, you know, she must have just been funny when they were talking to her, and they asked her to apply. And when I went to New York the first time, this is well before I was on Survivor, I went to New York and looked up the restaurant where she worked, and it was called the it's like a really generic name, like the coffee club or like the breakfast bar or something.
It wasn't like an Olive Garden, was it? Wasn't it a franchise?
It was in Union Square, and it was like a very well-known restaurant. And I went there, and I asked the waitress. I said, I'm a friend of Courtney's. Is she working today?
Oh,
and they said, oh no, she's not. But she's just taken a week holiday. She'll be back in the new year. And I was like, And then the second time I went to New York, I knew she didn't work there anymore, but I went back anyway just to take my wife because it was actually really good breakfast. So, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So you didn't go there to go get cast, Nick. You weren't like, oh, I'm hoping a casting producer would just
No, I didn't care about that. I just did a photo with Courtney.
So we jumped over Amanda. Like, Amanda is polarizing because, like you said, Nick, before, she was on, 5 seasons? 3 seasons in 5
No one's been on 5, Ryan.
No one's been on 5. Not yet. It's coming. Yeah. But we talk about Amanda playing 3 times and playing so soon after each other. But in terms of China, Amanda, I like her. I think she was pretty good, but she just sucked so badly at that final tribal council that she couldn't sell a point. But like we said before, Todd was so good at that final tribal council. He's able to really own his game that it was going to be nearly impossible for anyone to beat Todd.
The coffee shop. That's what it's called.
The literal coffee shop. There you go. And what are the reviews like? Oh, there she is.
It's closed now. It was, and all the staff are models and stuff. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
No, that's fine. Does anyone have any thoughts about Amanda and her game? Dead silence. Just that's how everyone thinks about Amanda.
Well, I was actually a lot more impressed by Amanda, aside from her final tribal council performance, than I expected to be. Particularly sort of through the James boot. She seemed to be a lot more involved than I kind of remembered her being.
Yeah.
She clearly had some strategic sense. It just never really ultimately translated towards getting her the win.
I think she's a good player, but yeah, the people always reference those doe eyes and stuff like that. It is annoying because it's especially when you're sitting next to Courtney and it's where you stand with her, to then have someone that's kind of oh, this is so hard. It's just well, it's hard on everyone, but it's but we have to vote people out, and it just seems disingenuous. I feel that's the worst quality to have on Survivor, is to be disingenuous. Be outwardly sneaky, be really, really nice, be, over the experience, be all those things. But to be just to seem disingenuous, people really have an issue with that. One of the biggest things I heard going through casting, hearing all the other people, was, I'm just me, I'm who I am, and I don't pretend to be someone that I'm not. And, anyone who pretends to be someone that, people have a real thing about people pretending to be someone else. And I think that she sums that up for a lot of people.
She just come across really crybaby when things weren't going her way in Heroes Villains. And I feel like you didn't see much of that in China, just purely for the fact that so much went her way.
Yeah.
It's I think she got 2 really lucky seasons of getting the luck end.
Yeah, for sure.
Catherine, I'm pretty sure she has hidden immunity. Not hidden immunity. She has the immunity necklace heading into the Final Four as well. What do you think about the decision not to take someone like Denise to the end and take Todd, who, for all that he's done in the game, he was someone who had been sneaky, who had played a pretty big game, and obviously you've got Courtney who'd rubbed a few people the wrong way. Isn't the right thing to do to try to get Todd out at this point?
Probably. Maybe she thought she could win out as against Todd, that maybe she thought Todd had pissed people off.
Yeah.
And, being worried about Denise's sympathy card. People did like Denise. Denise hadn't pissed people off, really. She hadn't committed, but she hadn't really played the game. She hadn't pissed people off. I don't know. But, yeah, Amanda's end game is that weak point. She goes to the end with Parvati, and she just, her end point. Sorry.
You have to contextualize it in the time period where she doesn't know that, like we said, no one's come out before and owned their game like Todd has. She's not going to know that that's going to win in the jury. And we've just, before that we had, Yao Man, who everyone loves, who's this kind of quirky older character who makes it to the end. And, people like that is Denise, is that going to happen with Denise? With people like Jamie and Eric, who are just nice Christian people, are they going to vote for Denise over her? They probably were thinking that there's no way Todd will win.
I think for Amanda as well, you got to think if she's working with Todd from day one, everyone thinks that their game's like the better game. So she can sit next to Todd and go, every single move he's made, I've made.
Yeah.
So she, in her head, thinks that she's been the forefront of all those moves or whatnot, so that she would look more appealing as a winner to the jury sitting next to Todd. Where old love, I can't remember her name, Mrs. Denise. Polar opposite game. If they're at all bitter towards Amanda, I can see the logic in taking Todd.
Yeah, and
that's a good call.
You can definitely see in this rewatch how much Amanda was actually driving the strategy.
Yeah,
Todd was doing a lot, but Amanda was driving a hell of a lot of the strategy. So maybe she thought she could argue that it was her driving it, but she just couldn't articulate what she'd done.
Yeah. Well, she certainly talks about it in a lot of her confessionals. She talks about how Todd's really all over the place. He's kind of changing his mind a lot, whereas she's kind of the one who's holding the ship straight. And it's very easy to sort of see that she might have thought that kind of argument could win out, and they just were completely mismatched when it came to the final tribal.
Yeah, for sure. One of the best with one of the worst. It was never.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We talked about Todd a little bit already about how fantastic he was at the final tribal and just the way that he was able to socially get people to tell him things throughout the game. Is there anyone else who wants to talk about Todd and what he did and how the impact that he made?
I'd like to ask a question to the group.
Go. Okay.
So, old mate poker player.
Yeah.
Sorry for the names again.
Yeah.
John
Robert, do you honestly think that Todd's answer to John Robert got his vote?
I do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, because I think for the most part, Survivor jury, Nick, I don't know if this is right or not, but you're pretty made up on your way in. And I truly think that that answer was one of the best examples of how you can win a vote at Tribal Council.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he was probably going to vote for Amanda. He was never going to vote for Courtney. And I think that he totally won him over by appealing to his ego. I've always been of the belief that you go into Tribal Council knowing who you're voting for, especially someone like me. I live my life like this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it. And I don't like to get swayed by people. I've got a very clear sense of what I want to do. But I had the exact opposite experience. I went into Final Tribal Council wanting to vote for Lee, thinking I was going to vote for Lee. I thought I was going to, and this is something that, whether people believe me or not, I wanted to rip him apart, say what I'd said so that he would fight back and then say, but I did do that, but this is how I've grown and changed. And then I was ready to hold up the card and say, you answered that question brilliantly and, well done. And I was ready to do that. But Christy completely changed my mind. So I now know that you do go into Tribal Council sometimes. And especially, like I said, someone who plans everything in my life, if I can change my vote, anyone can change their vote. So, so I definitely think that you got him.
Tribal's alive.
Tribal's alive.
Sometimes.
We haven't really talked about this a lot, but I know, Nick, you raised it at the very beginning about it's actually in China, and the themes around this season are all Chinese based. The challenges, I feel like this is such an underrated season in terms of I'd forgotten how good the challenges were this season.
The chopstick one, the big chopstick.
The chopsticks.
The flaming ball. And then there's the fireworks that go off at the end of it. It's just, I love how they've ingrained the culture into the challenges throughout. It's even I know AK and I were talking about Courtney in the boat and just how she's drowning because she can't get away. And you also got Courtney when she's on the barrel but the barrel is like a dragon and everyone's connected to this giant dragon. How cool is that?
Yeah. It's a great challenge. They could do that again, maybe not with the dragon theme, but definitely that same idea.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we haven't seen a variation of that one again.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it is. I think the reason is in the end, it is just people sitting there.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, isn't that pretty much all endurance challenges?
I always think that. I always think, and then it's funny that it's imagine the one challenge you win is the one where it's I had to sit down,
not do anything.
But how good would that be for like a reward challenge on Australian, which is like 55 days long? Like just to not have that physical tax. By the way, cricket's on, and someone in the crowd's wearing a Boston. I call it a Boston Rob hat.
Yeah,
there you go.
A little bit hat.
Yep. But no, just in terms of the theme, and I feel like that's kind of what we miss from Modern Survivor, is because we have the same location over and over and over, which we understand why, but I feel like we lose that cultural aspect to the show, which I think is really just, it's something that sells Survivor. And I think you're right, Nick, having a location that's just not a beach can be exciting.
For sure. I don't like that they've given up on that, to be honest. I especially don't like that that they're saying they want to stay in Fiji all the time. Like even in Cambodia, I liked the fact that Cambodia looked a little different. Like I want to see different cultures. I felt like there was a definite change in vibe when they were in the Philippines. I think there's definitely more. There's better places to go.
But did you like having 3 medevacs in Koh Rong because they were in Cambodia though?
Yeah, that doesn't bother me. Medevac. I don't know why people hate medevacs. I don't know why people hate non-elimination episodes. Does not bother me in the slightest.
Well, they're a bit different, but I think medevacs ultimately change the outcome of a season.
But somewhat you're out there. Of course, someone's going to get medevac. Like I doesn't it. People say like, oh, you can really mess with the game and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, it can, totally. I don't think Joe eating meat has anything to do with Cambodia, to be honest.
They cost over the game.
Joe could eat meat, impact that card. Joe could come for a barbecue and impact his colon. Like, he doesn't have to be so wrong to do it.
Yeah.
I agree. But then Caleb being in Cambodia is a bit different to if he was in Fiji.
Game changer.
Well, no, not a game changer. But I think, there is that question of, I agree with you, Nick. Like, I think we should see different locations, and I'd love to see them go back to Africa, but I just don't think in today's climate, if I get 10 more seasons in one location versus 5 in different locations, I'm taking the 10 every time. That's just
agreed.
me. But
sure.
Yeah.
Agreed. But I remember seeing the preview for Survivor Gabon and being so pumped, so pumped for that. That season, I know everyone hates that season. I love that. I think it's so cool. And there's the elephants right there in the thing, and they're on those big rolling hills. Shit like that you just don't see. There's only so many times you can swim out for a buoy and dive down, and then yeah.
The best part of the finales for me as a kid was seeing where the show was going next, and hypothesizing where might they go or where should they go. So there's a part of the magic that's gone now, but like you guys are saying, I'll always take more Survivor over no Survivor. But in a perfect world, we'd get more cultural integration into the show.
Yeah.
So we talked about it through the 3 podcasts and this one today. Where does China stand for you now? Like, is an overall season? Is it a top 10? Is it a bottom 10? Is it a middle season?
Top 5.
Where is it? Top 5, Austin? Top 5, baby?
Easily. There's probably a very good chance it would be in my top 3. I've never done a full, series ranking, but pretty sure it'd be top 5, most likely top 3.
Nick, is it your definitive number 1? Like, you just love Survivor China?
It's definitely 1 or 2. Like, it changes. It's constantly changing between those 2 if I had to choose. And then there's a big step down for the rest. So it's definitely that or Heroes Villains. I'd say that because Courtney and Sandra and Parvati and Jerry and Russell are all on Heroes Villains. Then it's got to be that. But China's definitely close second.
As a complete newbie season as well. I think that's the thing. Like, when we look at our best seasons, sometimes we look at them and think, oh, like Heroes and Villains is always ranked so highly. Fans versus favorites, people always have it up there. But as a pure brand new season players, it stands up really high. Adam, where do you have it?
I have it around sort of 11, 12, 13, so like just outside the top 10 for me. But again, I think people say that I probably have a bit of a recency bias. But that being said, I really placed a lot of value. If I'm talking like returning player seasons, again, I agree with Nick, like Heroes Villains is that top season for me. But I think China had a lasting impression, and I think it had the game in terms of what Todd was able to do, what a lot of those characters were able to do. And it's so funny because like I was looking this up. Apparently it's like one of the most youngest seasons in terms of the average age. The average age is 30 years old, which is pretty low for a season. And now we're seeing like, in upcoming season that the average age is a lot lower. So I don't know if they're consciously thinking about this, but it is interesting that such a well-loved season amongst a lot of the fans comes from a lot of these players that are quite young.
Catherine, did your opinion change at all rewatching it from start to finish? I know this is the first time you've rewatched China.
No, like I think it was always one of my top seasons, like from memories, and this definitely reaffirmed that it is in the top 10 easily, probably top 5. For all newbie season, it's probably still below Pearl Islands, but it's up there. It's up there.
Yeah. No, I also probably rate it. Oh, it's hard. It's hard. It's probably round 5-ish, I reckon. It's in that 5 to 10, definitely. It's a great season. I really love it. AK, I know you've seen like I feel like for you, I know you've seen Samoa upwards. Have you seen all of China?
Yeah, so after I watched Samoa, there was a wait before Heroes Villains. So I went back on like a bit of a binge watch, and I got to see China, Gabon, Micronesia, Borneo. And then I started watching other ones, I think like Yellman. Is that Fiji? No.
Fiji.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And other ones, and they were just fucking shocking. But for some reason, like China just like sticks in my mind. There's certain parts of China that I just love. And so it would probably, for the fact that I still remember it, I would have watched it back in like 2009. The fact that I still remember parts of it, would probably be like 7 to 10 for me.
That's pretty cool. All right. That's all I want to ask you guys about China. Yeah, you go, Nick.
Question. If you had to pick one person from the cast who hasn't returned yet, who you want to come back, who would it be?
Frosty.
Yeah.
Got in there first.
Yeah, I think Frosty. I mean, yeah. I'm trying to go through the list, but I can't think of anyone else other than Frosty.
I'm going to say Jean Robert.
What about Todd? He hasn't played yet.
Oh, Todd, of course. Yeah.
Definitely Todd, I reckon. Yeah.
Will Dr. Phil let him?
He was on a podcast with Rob like a couple of weeks ago. He sounded like he was doing pretty well.
Good.
So he certainly sounded keen to play again if the opportunity presented itself. So
I can see them.
Here's the thing. I don't think a winner should want to play again unless it's all winners. At this point, I think we're getting to the point where we can talk about an all winners season. And if I was a winner of the game, I know, I'm sorry, probably shouldn't say this, but I do think like most winners don't have much to gain from going back unless it's an all winners season.
I disagree because an all winner. I was saying this to. I was speaking to Bianca from season 1 like last night. We had a catch up because I haven't spoken to her in a while, and I was saying that the people who have that it should be a no brainer to return are people who've won. Like, what do you have to prove? Like, you can go out
what do you have to lose?
Yeah, you've got nothing. Like you've already won. No one can take that away from you, and you're definitely not going to do better than you have before. Someone who has gone pre-merge and okay, you can attest to this. Someone who feels like
Thanks for reminding me.
No. I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying like that you feel like, and I know that people feel like there was more to show. So it's like, well, what am I going to do? What's the chances that I get voted out again with early? That's probably not going to happen. So I'm going to go out and play again. Winners, it's like I'm never going to beat my record, so it doesn't really matter. I can just go out there and have fun. Whereas I feel like if you just kind of make the jury, if you just make the merge, or if you kind of like come 7th or something like that, I feel like that's when you're in that shitty spot because you're also probably you're one of the people who's probably not going to do better than you did last time. And my theory is that if you won, you come back again whenever people ask you.
And just to think, like you might get to experience the Jury Villa or Ponderosa. And I think if you watch Sandra's pre-game changes, she probably said it best. She was like, these people aren't going to award me $1 million, but I'll sure as hell take the 100,000.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like she knew, like she was just there to have fun and stir shit up.
Yeah. But do you agree with what I said, AK? Do you agree with that assessment?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think like some of us spoke about with Sandra. I know you're really high on Sandra, Nick. I'd always been someone who's like, she's okay. I definitely don't think she should have won Heroes and Villains, but I feel like
Wash your mouth out, young man.
I feel like her reputation almost went up in the fan community post game changes in a pre-merge game. So that's almost the case that like she just came in and just had so much fun with it that people were like, I actually fully respect like everything you did, and like thank you so much for having such a great game. Adam, your hand up.
Where is
Mr. Ritter? Yes, over there, Mr. Ritter.
Whereas JT has played 3 times and his reputation has just gone down and down and down, and we all think Steven should have won Token Chains. But
we all thought Steven should have won anyway, and who cares because JT's got $1 million. You know, like, you've got nothing. He's got $1 million. What does he care about your opinion?
True, he doesn't care about my opinion, but I think, but you know, it probably stings a bit for him to be like a bit of a laughing stock now, having come off the show 3 times, and people start to realize and question. But people are questioning. You know, people are not just superfans like Nick and I who loved Fishback the first time. There are people out there more so questioning him.
Yeah, but he's crying his Ferrari. He doesn't care.
JT is pretty much exactly what Nick just said a winner would go out and do and be like, because like you think of both times JT returned and how he went out of the game. Like they're massive things that he did, and they're like stupid in hindsight, but he had the freedom to be able to do that because he knows he's got the $1 million in his bank account.
Exactly. He never would have given that note to Russell
if he hadn't won. Exactly.
Never.
No. It's like, I'm not going to go into sport terminology. You're good.
Wrong audience, bro. I'm not
well, thank you all you guys for coming in. I've already held you too long. Can I ask you one more thing before you go, Nick?
Certainly.
So I know you and AK were both at the upfronts for Channel 10 last week. Any champions, contenders, news for people watching? Like any inside goss that is shareable?
Well, I guess my takeaway from it was that and this isn't a secret, that they are looking for people who are noteworthy. But what I took away is that they're not looking for celebrities. Yeah. They said, and AK, you can back this up, that they were looking for a couple of names that you might know and a bunch of people that you're not going to know who are just champions in their own field. And to me, that is the same as Lee Castledine, Matt Tarrant, Ziggy, and Jared Singh. You know, that's their champions that you may have heard of. Maybe one person a little bit more high profile than that, but that's all this talk of, it's celebrities, blah, 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 blah. It's like the same thing that Ritter said before. Would you rather 10 seasons in one location or 5 seasons in, with mixed up locations? Would you rather them take a punt on 1 or 2 people you may have heard of before and get another season of Survivor, or them not doing that and Survivor not coming back?
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely the way it's going to go. Like, I would not be shocked if it's someone from The Bachelor or one of these other shows that's been on TV, has a bit of a profile. It's like, let's just get them on and see how they go.
I mean, we got Jimmy Johnson and Lisa Welch all on the American one. Like, it's not unreasonable to have a couple of high-profile people. So, fingers
just
crossed.
vote them out.
Yeah,
exactly.
Clean house.
So up front, the most positive take I had of the night was that the guys that are higher up are huge Survivor fans, and CBS coming on board really had no influence at all of us getting another season, which is extremely encouraging.
Awesome.
And I I don't know if I can say this, but like they were weighing up between 3 potential themes. So Champions Contenders was the only original theme. The other 2 were Brain, Brawn, Beauty, and Blue Collar, White Collar, No Collar. So they've chosen to go with a complete new theme. Nick's called it I think the Sophie Monk effect with the champions.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think we're going to get Sophie Monks in the champion tribe at all. And like you see how they can like twist people into categorizing them into like heroes, healers, hustlers. I think they're going to do the exact same thing for champions and contenders. Like I don't know if he meant to say this out loud, but like he would love to get like a chest champion, and that doesn't necessarily mean like this guy as a known person or whatever else, but it's a different, I guess, environment to what people would classify as a champion.
Yeah, he's not saying that they're going to go out and find Bobby Fischer. They're saying that he's going to go out and find someone who's, you know, a state or national champion kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And the example I said to him was, look, if they can say that, yeah, it was. You can say that someone's on the beauty tribe because of their beauty on the inside, and he laughed. And he laughed because he knew he was talking about Ty. Like, so they're already all over it. They'll be able to spin stuff in whatever direction they want.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be that we don't spread this information around.
No. This stays within our 50, and there's probably only us plus it looks like 2 other people watching. Whoever you are, they're in the spy. Listen to Splash Shack waiting to pop out. We have no idea who you are. But cool. No, great. Thank you guys for chatting and everything else. And I think I can just I think that this link will save itself and I can add it to the group for anyone who wants to watch it later as well. And I think there's a way for me to turn this into a podcast and put it in that feed as well. But no, I genuinely appreciate you guys coming on and joining Nick and AK as a special surprise guest on today, and Adam, Catherine, and Austin for being on every one of these. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. It was fun to chat with you all.
I'll press this button and see what happens. I have no idea what's going to happen. Let's just press it and see.